Picture this. You're sailing through perfectly calm waters. The sky is crystal clear, the water is like glass. Then, out of nowhere, your compass just starts spinning completely out of control. The ocean around you begins aggressively churning and bubbling, almost like something massive is waking up right beneath your boat. And before you can even grab the radio to send a distress call, boom, your ship is just gone. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into one of the most terrifying yet utterly fascinating zones on the planet, a place where a peaceful ocean can literally turn deadly in seconds, leaving zero wreckage behind.
So what is actually going on here? For decades, this specific patch of water has genuinely terrified sailors and pilots alike. A lot of folks call it Japan's Bermuda Triangle, but we've got to ask ourselves, are we looking at a genuinely cursed sea straight out of a paranormal thriller, or did researchers actually uncover a much more terrifying, entirely scientific truth? Today, we're going to look closely at the data and the history to figure out exactly what's happening out there, and I invite you to investigate this extraordinary mystery right alongside me.
All right, first things first, let's get our bearings. The Devil's Sea, or as it's famously known, the Dragon's Triangle, is a region located right in the Pacific Ocean, just south of Tokyo. And listen, for centuries, Japanese fishermen have actively steered clear of this patch of water. Ancient legends actually claim that massive, terrifying dragons lived deep beneath the waves, physically dragging passing ships down into the dark depths. Now, I know, at first glance, that just sounds like your classic, old-school nautical myth, right?
Well, here's the thing. The stories didn't stay safely in the realm of ancient mythology. Strange, very real events started happening with alarming frequency. Fishing boats began to completely vanish. And we're not just talking about small wooden dinghies here. Massive cargo ships were disappearing without ever sending a single distress call. Plus, it wasn't just on the water. Commercial and military pilots flying over these exact same coordinates reported totally bizarre, unexplained instrument failures. No survivors were ever found. Not a single piece of floating wreckage, just this sudden, terrifying emptiness. As these completely unexplained disappearances kept stacking up, the area's reputation morphed from a local superstition into a massive, globally recognized nightmare.
Which brings us to a huge turning point in our investigation. Fast forward to the early 1950s. After a particularly disturbing string of vanished fishing vessels, the Japanese government basically decided they had seen enough. They realized they couldn't just rely on ghost stories and superstition anymore. They needed hard facts. So they launched a fully equipped, state-of-the-art scientific research mission. They sent a dedicated research ship, the Kaiomaru No. 5, straight into the strange waters of the Devil's Sea. It was loaded up with experienced scientists and the best modern tracking instruments they had, all to finally get to the truth.
But what happened next absolutely shocked the entire nation of Japan. The research ship itself just vanished. It simply never returned to port. Over 30 brilliant scientists and dedicated crew members were lost in a single day, leaving absolutely no trace behind. None. The tragic loss of the Kaiowaru No. 5 was a devastating blow. It forced everyone to realize that if even a highly prepared, scientifically equipped expedition could just be swallowed whole with zero explanation, the danger out there was incredibly real.
So that forces us to ask the big question. What was really hiding beneath the Devil's Sea? And this is exactly where we pivot from what sounds like a spooky ghost story straight into a hard-hitting geological investigation. Because the Japanese government and international scientists, they didn't stop looking. They realized that to solve a mystery happening on the surface of the ocean, they actually had to look way down beneath the waves. They had to examine the very crust of the Earth itself. And wow, what marine geologists eventually discovered down there was absolutely shocking. When they mapped the ocean floor around the Devil's Sea, they found that the entire region sits directly on top of the Pacific Ring of Fire. We are talking about one of the most violently active volcanic zones on planet Earth. Hidden deep beneath the dark ocean are massive underwater volcanoes that are just constantly erupting. This wasn't some static, peaceful seabed at all. It was a highly volatile, geologically aggressive environment. Let's actually break down this terrifying geological chain reaction because it is wild. Step 1. An underwater volcano erupts. Step 2. This eruption frequently releases enormous, highly concentrated pockets of volcanic gases, specifically from melting methane hydrates buried in the seafloor. Step 3. As this immense volume of methane rapidly shoots up through the water column, it breaks apart into thousands or even millions of expanding bubbles. This fundamentally alters the physical makeup of the ocean, dramatically and instantly reducing the water's density. And step 4, any ship passing directly over this massive gas release instantly loses all buoyancy. The water literally can't support its weight anymore, and it plunges straight to the ocean floor. To really wrap your head around this, just imagine trying to float in foam instead of water. It all comes down to pure physics. A massive cargo ship is incredibly heavy, obviously, but it displaces water to stay afloat. When that solid water suddenly turns into this frothy, gaseous methane foam because of the intense geological activity below, the physics of buoyancy just completely break down. The ship doesn't even have time to flood or slowly capsize, it simply drops like a stone through the aerated water. And honestly, that perfectly explains why not a single distress call was ever sent and why zero wreckage was left floating on the surface.
And amazingly, this also perfectly explains why planes were literally falling out of the sky over this area. The danger definitely doesn't stop at the surface. When those massive methane bubbles finally break through the ocean's surface, the gas rises straight up into the atmosphere. If an aircraft happens to fly through that exact column of rising gas, it literally starves the engines of the oxygen they need for combustion. This perfectly accounts for all those bizarre, previously unexplained instrument failures, the sudden engine stalls, and planes just dropping out of the sky without warning.
But wait, it gets even more intense. On top of those catastrophic methane releases, scientists discovered a whole host of other chaotic natural forces at play out there in the Dragon's Triangle. The region is positioned exactly where incredibly powerful ocean currents violently collide. This constant clashing creates deeply unpredictable whirlpools and sudden, massive rogue waves. Plus, modern satellite imagery has captured huge ocean eddies here. Currents so strong, they can physically pull large objects miles away from their original coordinates. Add in the severe magnetic variations caused by all that shifting volcanic rock down below, and you've basically got a perfect geological storm for navigational disaster.
You know, it's really fascinating to contrast the stories we humans invent with the truth we eventually discover. For decades, pop culture filled the void of knowledge here with myths. Ancient dragons, secret alien underwater bases, portals to alternate dimensions, you name it. But the scientific reality? Melting methane hydrates, extreme colliding currents, and highly active tectonic zones. And honestly, the reality of the Earth's crust aggressively burping up invisible gas that yank ships into the abyss, I think that's almost scarier than any dragon.
And it's vital to remember the true scale of our planet here. Even today, with all our advanced satellites, sophisticated sonar, and vastly improved navigation making travel through this region much safer, it is wild to think that more than 80% of Earth's deep ocean remains totally unexplored. Think about that. New underwater volcanoes are actively forming right now. Earthquakes are constantly shifting the seabed. The deep ocean is still a highly, highly unpredictable frontier.
Which brings us to the core takeaway from this explainer. The Devil's Sea is the perfect reminder that not every mystery requires ghosts or monsters to be terrifying. Sometimes the truth is just sitting there, hidden deep beneath the ocean floor, waiting for science, geology, and sheer persistence to finally uncover it. Nature itself, with its raw volcanic power and immense geological forces, can be far more dangerous and far more fascinating than any legend humanity could ever dream up.
Yet, even with all of our incredibly advanced technology today, the sea just continues to surprise us. So I want to leave you with this thought. After looking at the geology, the terrifying methane traps, and those violent colliding currents, do you believe the Devil's Sea is entirely explained as a dangerous natural phenomenon? Or do you think, maybe, just maybe, in that 80% of unexplored darkness, there is still something unexplained hiding beneath the waves? Think about it. Keep asking questions, and above all, keep exploring